The first rule in choosing a plant is are they abundant? What is their status to start with? Where do they stand on the red list, data list? And then seeing the population of plants is important, and not just grabbing the alpha plant. It's always intriguing to take the best specimen, but I have to look at the health of the entire population. I'm not going to take the runt of the litter, but I'm going to take a good average plant that has a bit of everything on it. I'm going to look for a plant that tells the most of the conditions of where it occurs. I'm going to look at the hardships that it endures. I'm going to look at, is there an opportunity to show the utmost beauty of the plant? But I also want to see the plant process. I want to look at, is there the opportunity to show the plant with its flower bud, its leaf, maybe a seed pod? Does it show different years of development in a sculptural size piece? So I want to tell the whole story. I want seeds, I want the seed pod, I want the flower, I want the fruit, I want the bud, I want leaves, I want hopefully marks of the environment on it. The process involved in turning plant matter into bronze is precisely the same process as the lost wax casting process. But instead of wax, I'm using organic matter. So I will refer to it as lost organic matter casting, where I take the plant matter, or let's say I'm working with a flower. Typically in lost wax casting, you're going to make a wax pattern, and the wax pattern then gets embedded in a plaster of Paris slurry. The slurry sets hard, and then that's your mold, and you then bake that plaster of Paris mold in an oven, and the wax melts and runs out of the mold, and you're left with a cavity in the shape of the wax pattern that you originally molded. Now, instead of the wax, I'm using flour, and I have to then bake the mold at much higher temperatures in order for the flour to burn out of the mold, leaving me with a flower-shaped cavity into which I then shoot metal.
Nice.
Maybe with centrifuge or with gravity and vacuum casting. And this is another one of my stories, I guess. I grew up in a family of stone carvers on my paternal side, and my maternal side of my family are candle makers. So my brother and I both ended up studying dental technology, where we ended up carving wax, which is an exact hybrid of my maternal and paternal side of the family. And we professionalized that hereditary habit and became dental technicians. We carved wax crowns, carved wax teeth, and made subsequent castings of that. And that sort of became evident that this is our career, my brother and I. But because we had the stone carving side of the business, we knew that there was more to life than just sitting in a dental laboratory. There was the world of sculpture out there, and we turned our focus to sculpture and learned a lot about the lost wax casting process, not in the micro scale that you did with dentistry, but in the macro scale of big art foundries, where they were casting hundreds of kilograms of bronze. So fortunately, I was young enough to endure the breadline that goes with exploring those avenues, and so it was easy. You know, life existed of you know, maybe some seed loaf and casting metal, and that was it. That's all that was necessary for survival. I had a wonderful studio in Kalk Bay at that stage, and I was also really supported by the community. You know, they'd always bring, you know, some nights I'd sit in the studio and there'd be a knock on the door, and I'd go and open the door and there's a pot of soup and a ciabatta on the, you know, at my door, and no one to be seen. You know, that's how the community looked after me. So I was really well supported in terms of soup, not money.
Good bread.
You know, I still have my first plant that I ever cast. I made lots of jewelry and lots of metal castings for people, but that first plant that I cast was a Disperus capensis and a little witch's bonnet. I think it's called a witch's bonnet, like a local name. And I still have that feeling now when, you know, when I put a big tree together or a, you know, a complex thing. But the thing that remains is the diversity around us, around living in Cape Town. And I don't know if I'm answering the question accurately, but for me, I'll never get over the fact that this happened to me. This, you know, finding this sort of, it's you know, maybe it's just my own story in my own head, but I feel it's a vocation. I have a vocation. It's I have to cast certain things. They have to be seen, but the diversity that's on our doorstep, that appears, you know, after every fire. There are new things that haven't been seen for 80 years, or going to someone's farm, you know, looking for a specific species. Maybe it was a commissioned piece, and then the farmer says, "Come, I have to show you something," and he takes me to a rocky outcrop, and there's an erica that was forgotten by time, that someone saw recently. It was remembered, and the last time it was seen was in 1782, and there's a very rudimentary watercolor of it in a file somewhere in Stockholm, hidden away, and that's the only record of that plant. So, you know, it sort of tells a story of a botanist or an explorer or explorer botanist who'd gone past that rock outcrop and found that picture, that plant, sketched it, filed it away somewhere, and that was it, and there it is. You know, so I get to see amazing things that are lost to history. I get to work with plants that you know, that are overseen. So I get to bring things that we stand on into a sculptural form. You know, that even I don't understand until it's actually in metal. Until I've processed it, it's gone through the process, and it's finished. Then it comes.